Between the years 1500 and 1866, over 12 million African men, women, and children were torn from their homelands and forced across the Atlantic Ocean. But here's what they don't tell you in most history books. This was the systematic destruction of entire civilizations, the depopulation of kingdoms, the erasure of knowledge systems that had existed for millennia. It's about how African people fought back, how they survived, how they preserved their humanity against impossible odds. This is the story they tried to bury. This is the Atlantic slave trade, and its consequences echo through Africa to this very day. And today we are confronting one of the darkest chapters in human history, but we are telling it from an African perspective. For too long, the story of the Atlantic slave trade has been told through European eyes. But what about the kingdoms that were destroyed? What about the demographic catastrophe that changed Africa's trajectory forever? To understand what was lost, you must first understand what existed. In the 1400s, before European ships appeared on the Atlantic coast, Africa was home to some of the world's most sophisticated civilizations. The Mali Empire controlled the trans-Saharan gold trade. Timbuktu hosted one of the world's largest universities with over 25,000 students. The Sankore Mosque held hundreds of thousands of manuscripts on mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and law. Along the West African coast, the Kingdom of Benin had perfected bronze casting techniques that Europeans couldn't replicate. Their capital city, according to Dutch visitors, was larger and better organized than Amsterdam. The streets were wide and straight. The palace complex covered an area larger than many European cities. Further south, the Kingdom of Congo was a centralized state with a sophisticated administrative system. They had a written language, a currency system, and diplomatic relations stretching across Central Africa. On the East African coast, Swahili city-states like Kilwa and Mombasa traded with Arabia, India, and China. They used their own currency, built multi-story buildings from coral stone, and wrote poetry in Kiswahili. Africa's economy in the 15th century was diverse and interconnected. The trans-Saharan trade routes carried gold, salt, ivory, and enslaved people northward. But this slavery was fundamentally different